on the screen for film titled Fair Play. We have Luke, who proposes to his girlfriend at his brother's wedding. These two people work together, Emily and Luke, and that's against company policy. So this is one of societal issues where company policy says you're not supposed to date a colleague, and if you do, they need to know. And in that job, there's a bit of competition or a lot of competition. Luke expects a promotion, but instead of him getting the promotion, Emily gets it. And they even prematurely celebrated. The themes in this film include the first one, which I'm going to share, which is people pleasing. When Emily is promoted instead of him, Luke tries too hard to make things work with Emily because he was resentful, because he was expecting to be promoted, which can be a gender issue. He felt that he was good at his job and that he was the one who would get the promotion and that he would be the one to look after her. But it turned out that she was the one who was promoted. So he tried too hard until he felt resentful. And she, on the other hand, also felt sorry for him because she kind of looked up to him and tried to make the relationship work, tried to make moves on him, but it didn't work because he was already upset about the fact that he hadn't gotten the promotion. And this is a fact of attaching to outcomes. This guy had created an illusion of a promotion which he thought was going to happen and which didn't happen. And consequently, this led to issues in their relationship. And people pleasing, she tolerated bad treatment from her boss for career advancement because he called her names. He treated her really badly. And he also would call her in the middle of the night for meetings, to meet up in pubs and bars, and she would go. All because she wanted to progress in her career. And then again, Luke didn't lose his hope of getting a promotion. When Queen was fired, he still tried to please Rory, because first it was Queen and then it was Rory. And he still tried to please his boss, tried to please Campbell and to say some nice things to him in the hope that he would notice him. Campbell would notice him, look, but it didn't work. So again, we have an issue of Emily getting up and going out in the middle of the night. And then another theme is keeping secrets. When these two people started dating, if they really were serious about each other, and that is a red flag in their relationship, if they were serious and they wanted to be together, they would have done something to make sure that their relationship was well known. And when Luke proposed to Emily, he didn't even tell his parents. They didn't know. And at work, people didn't know they were dating. And Emily didn't tell her own family that she had been promoted. And there's something that Emily's mom said to her as a lesson. She said, work can wait, but how many times do you get engaged? Because she was putting more emphasis in the relationship than the work. And of course, this is something that we tend to forget when we go to work or when we overwork. We forget that when we neglect our relationships, they will suffer. And they are more important for us than the work we do. Although, yes, the work matters because it also allows us to meet our needs for comfort and independence and freedom. And Luke started to play up, to go out to drink, and she followed him. Emily followed him, trying to make things work. And there was also an issue of trust where Luke kept wondering whether Emily got the promotion because Campbell had done something to her or with her. And this indicates that Luke did not trust Emily, number one. Number two, he did not believe in Emily's abilities and capabilities at work because he felt that he was better, which is why he thought he would get promoted and not Emily. And another issue also that kept happening there is Emily kept putting pressure on Luke and promised him a promotion if he worked hard, and kept piling work on top of work for him to do so that he could get a promotion. And considering that they were in a relationship, this put a lot of stress and pressure on their relationship, which made Luke withdraw. And this is something to reflect on when we are in relationships, that so much pressure can lead someone to withdraw. And especially if you consider that you are working with your partner or you are your partner's boss, it's not going to be in the best interest of the relationship if you put pressure on your partner, put more work on your partner. And Luke started acting out because of this. And he kept getting these promises from Emily that she was going to put in a word about him to Campbell, which she did, but it didn't work because Campbell didn't like Luke at all. And that's another issue. Another theme, arrogance. We had Campbell. He was very arrogant, and he didn't treat his workers with kindness or with empathy. And he didn't like some of his workers, but he tolerated them. And he discussed with Emily that he pushed people until they left on their own, which is not nice. If you don't feel that you want people around, then let them go early on, because it's not right to treat other people like that. And this is what happens sometimes when people run businesses or have businesses. They forget they are just human, and what goes around comes around. You don't get away with things like that. You don't treat other people in that manner and think that you can get away with it. And the problem again was that because Emily was focused on trying to promote Luke, she ended up letting him stay her vision rather than support it, which is what Campbell pointed out to her to focus. And Campbell also was putting Emily down and putting other workers down. Then we also have Luke, who started to put Emily down when he realized that there was no getting a promotion and there was no winning in this situation, because all Luke was focused on was getting a promotion, was winning. And he felt demeaned and degraded when his girlfriend got the promotion, not him. So he started to put her down, how she dresses. And also when she decided to rebel and go out with the boys from the office, he put her down by telling her that she mustn't think that she's one of the boys. Instead, he classified her as a street woman with the boys. So that was another issue. And this was a red flag in the relationship itself, because it indicated how unhealthy the relationship was getting. At the first sign of putting each other down, these two people might have decided to separate. It would have been healthy. It would have been helpful. And initially also, knowing the company policy and knowing the kind of company they worked in, one of them could have left. If they were really in love and they loved each other, one of them could have left to get work in another company. And this is what Emily was trying to tell Luke, to look for work in another company, so that they could work on their relationship, which could have worked. But the focus here, they didn't prioritize their relationship. They prioritized their individual goals, career goals, and that was the undoing for their relationship. That's how they ruined their relationship. And eventually, we also have a theme around boundaries. We have parents without boundaries. Emily's mom, she planned an engagement party without talking to Emily first, and not asking and even not listening to Emily to hear what she was saying. And consequently, that was a useless engagement party, because there was a lot of drama there, which was which could have been avoided if she had contacted daughter first, because the relationship was not working out. And the another boundary, which I've mentioned already, also boundary issue, is Emily, who kept answering her boss's phone calls at night, even when Luke told her not to, because Luke tried to warn her about that. And she also kept trying to protect and save Luke, even though his behavior was out of hand. She kept trying to protect him and also tried to get him a promotion, and that's a boundary issue. And then there's the issue of emotional regulation and conflict resolution. Like I said, a separation could have helped this relationship if they noticed that they were not getting on the moment Emily was promoted. They could have separated. And there was a situation where Luke himself pushed Emily violently at the party and even molested her, which really was a boundary situation that was important. And Emily still didn't take action around that. And this is important thing in relationships where people enable people who have bad behaviors. And these people do not change. And Luke started to react and push things and break things in the house, in the flat. And everything depended on Luke being number one. And when he wasn't number one, all hell broke loose in the relationship. And the way that he made love to her also was demanding of submission. He wanted to be in control. He wanted her to feel like she was the other person in the relationship. And he wanted to humiliate her when she said no and when she said it hurts. And those are boundary issues and lack of emotional regulation. You can see how out of control he was. But at the same time, she was also codependent in trying to please him. And you can also track this kind of behavior to her parents, because her mom was quite controlling, was quite over the top, and she didn't take no for an answer. And that might be why she was this way towards Luke. And then we've got the effects of self-betrayal and people pleasing. When Luke reacted at work, Emily had to create a story to hold on to her job. She had to lie to her boss, to Campbell, and told her boss that Luke was a stalker, someone who she didn't want in her life. But, I mean, Campbell could have investigated and found out that these people live together. But of course, sometimes people don't. And I just wonder, I was out of curiosity, what addresses they had used at Human Resources. Maybe family addresses, I don't know. But the final part of this film is that when Emily exonerated herself by lying about Luke, she went home and found out Luke had packed and he was ready to leave. And Luke, with his arrogance, hadn't tried or made an effort to apologize to Emily about how he had treated her and how he had behaved at work, because in his own mind, in his own thinking, he was right and he was entitled to how he behaved at work as well as in towards her. And she was now resentful. And this is what happens when we people please, when we have been doing things against our own values, when we have been betraying ourselves and doing things we don't want to do. We then feel resentful. And she was resentful in the end, and she was angry, and she wanted to hurt him. And she used a knife to poke him, to make him bleed. And eventually he felt the pain that she herself said she had felt, and he cried and he apologized. And he wanted to make it right. He asked her what he could do to make it right. And because she was angry and she had had enough because of how much she had done for the relationship, she asked him to wipe her floor, wipe the blood off her floor and get out. And that was end of this film, he was going to go his way and she was going to stay in this job. This relationship could have been saved if people had gone to therapy when they met, if people had assessed their inner states and how they showed up, they had revisited how they were raised, and they had made some changes in their lives. And if they had separated initially when things started to fall apart, but they waited until the relationship was irretrievable, until things had gotten worse such that there was nothing else that could be done about it. And so in the end, they had to part ways. And she sacrificed her soul because in that company, even when he was being fired, there was a new girl who was coming on board. And she knew that that's how a boss worked. He pitted people against each other and he would bring in the next person. And obviously, her coming, the new girl coming, she was going to be lined up for a position at some point. Nobody is irreplaceable. And I think this is something that she had to learn herself, that she was also replaceable. Everybody is dispensable, especially when it comes to work situations. So this is a film that's quite interesting to watch. If you haven't watched it, look for it on Netflix, Fair Play, or anywhere where you look for films, and you quite enjoy it. And it will show you the human dynamics between men and women, especially at work. People who are ambitious and how people can compete and how people can pit other people against each other or pit each other against themselves, and how toxic some work environments or work cultures are. Like that work environment, it was very toxic, but it was all toxic because of the boss, because the boss himself was not a healthy boss, was not a helpful boss, was not a boss who was going to support people to show up as their best selves. So this is one thing to think about. And also, it's worth thinking about whether your work matters more than your relationships, because at some point you retire, but your relationships are forever. I'm hoping this has been helpful, and I'm hoping as you watch this film, you learn a lot about the themes that I've shared. Quality life before relationships. I'll see you soon on episode 53. How do I end this thing? Okay.